Hey! I don't know if there's a lot to talk about. There's some stuff to talk about, like the blanket right there, the sheet. Oh, we were at Value Village today, dropping off all the non-Lego building bricks and things that I've been accumulating from all the lots I sorted out, that you saw me sort out in all these videos. And so we took two big hefty basically two big Lego bags to the store, to the Value Village for donations, because why not? And we get a 20% discount card, which comes in handy when you buy sheets. I always go through so many. Oh, it was this year. That wasn't that long ago. I think it was before Turtle Fest in Tilsonburg. We went and visited Value Village because we are wont to do that. We went and visited Value Village, and I usually go into the bed sheet section because I have found no less than three Lego sheets. Not the fitted sheets, thankfully, but actually just regular sheets for a double or whatever. Twin, I don't know. But I use them. They're in the layout. They are for storage. I wrap the landing pads around so the landing pads don't move around and break. So that helps. But I also use them at night because the top secret security measures that us vendors and displayers use is just to throw a blanket over our stuff, and we know nothing's going to walk away between the night and the morning. It's very secure. It's like Fort Knox. There's a sheet over the layout. Of course, my layout's so big that I have to use 3 sheets, so that's the Lego sheets. But I always wanted another one because it's not completely covered, so I've been looking for a bunch of years now for another Lego sheet. I haven't seen any. I think Lego, I don't know, overall has got out of the pencil crayons and pencil cases and bed sheets and whatever else esoteric stuff that they were trying to put their brand label on. Maybe they still make them. I don't know. I remember some ruminations, some pontificating that Lego is going to get out of the non-binding brick market, like the bed sheets and the pencils and all that other stuff. I'm sure they still have some, but the thrift stores that sell used bed sheets, I haven't seen any in 3 or 4 years now. So I saw this one. I bought it because if you've been here long enough, you know I'm not a huge comic book fan. I love all the superhero movies. I used to buy comic books when I was a kid, but it was like the Archies and the Caspers and the Wendy Witches and the Richie. I already said Richie Rich. I was never into the Sergeant Slaughters or the Judge Dredds or all those other harsher comic books. The one superhero comic book I would buy sporadically is Superman, because he's always been my favorite. When we were kids, we got to see the old black and white George Reeves ones and the other guy. They were on Saturdays sometimes, and they would, they're from 1940 or 50, whatever Superman was around with George Reeves, to now they've commercialized. They broke it up into commercials instead of like the spots that they used to have in the movie theaters for the kids. Like when my dad was a kid watching Superman, I loved them. I thought they were great, and of course I would read the comic books. And then Superman '78 showed up, and that just sealed the deal for me because Christopher Reeve, my Superman. I don't get into the debate, although it is a valid debate-ish. Who's the best Superman? Who's the best Clark Kent? Who did it great? I know that there was a lot of animosity towards the latest Superman pick because people thought that Henry Cavill still deserved to have the role going forward for a bit, but the DCU really can't get their act together at all, and it drives me crazy. But I will say this: I loved the DCU as it was. I mean, it wasn't as great as the 21 movie epic of the Avengers / Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, and the other ones, Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, and the rest, Black Panthers and stuff. DCU didn't even come close. Did not come close, and it always bothered me as a comic book Luddite, not an aficionado, that DC was the first one to make comics, basically, quote unquote, the biggest one up until Marvel showed up. Marvel was the poorer cousin that showed up, I believe, in the '60s, and had the second tier comics until they caught on because they were more edgy, as like South Park compared to The Simpsons, more edgy. But DC has literally the three biggest comic book heroes of literally history: Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Literally the biggest comic heroes of all time, dwarfing all other comic book superheroes, including the Avengers and Fantastic Four. All of nothing Marvel did back in the day could compete with the longevity and history and gravitas and over of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman until the MCU. I think even the Supes Spider-Mans that came out first, and in the movie franchises, you have the X-Men, 1 through whatever, up until Apocalypse or whatever it was, Armageddon, I can't remember. it was I think, or Dark Phoenix. I liked Dark Phoenix, sorry, I did, but Apocalypse or whatever, I didn't care for it much. It comes down between X2, which was brilliant, absolutely perfect as a superhero movie. It was absolutely perfect to combine a whole bunch of people. Versus Days of Futures Past. Days of Futures Past was just sublimely wonderful through the whole thing. I thought for what they did there in Days of Futures Past was just chef's kiss. First Class was great, but then they went to Days of Futures Past, and I thought that, oh my god, I can watch that movie anytime it's on, I'll watch it, because it is so, it's almost like Back to the Future, the first one, whereas everything fits together. It's great. It's almost like the first Avengers movie, which is my favorite out of the 4 Avengers movies. Even though Endgame is so over the top fantastic, and Infinity War is so over the top fantastic, Avengers was the first time that ever happened like that. And even though there's only 6 Avengers at the time, instead of the hundreds that showed up in Endgame, it was perfect. Endgame the first Avengers movie from beginning to end. But anyway, that's when Marvel really started trouncing on DC. Like, yes, you had the Marvels, as I said, X-Men, and then the Spider-Mans come out with Toby and then Andrew, and then they got into the MCU starting with Iron Man and going forward. Because the first Fantastic Four, I liked the first Fantastic Four. I thought there were the 2 of them. The first one was great. The second one was Silver Surfer or whatever. And then there was the reboot again of Fantastic Four, which I don't even remember watching. Jessica Alba wasn't in it, and Michael Chiklis, I think it was. I don't remember watching it. I probably saw it, but I don't remember watching it. And now they're rebooting it again with different people, I think. But MCU was really, really kicking butt. I will say for a while there that the DC universe on TV was fantastic on the CW. You got Smallville, and then you got the Green Arrow, and then you got the Flash, which is my favorite of the Arrowverse shows. I watched all the Arrow. I watched all Legends of Tomorrow. Not Green, just Arrow. Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl, which is my second favorite. I'm sorry, Supergirl was fantastic. Watched it from the pilot. It's just, I loved it. There was some moments, but every TV series had that. But The Flash, I thought, was solid pretty much from beginning to end. A lot of people say it kind of petered off after season 6. I didn't care. I loved the characters. I think it got stupid superhero movies, TV shows. So the DC held its own on TV for a while, but then Loki showed up. then WandaVision showed up, and then the rest of them they're okay. Falcon Winter Soldier was good. The Barton's Christmas thing, the six episodes, I loved. By the way, I really loved the Arrow. Oh, for crying! This is the mind. But Barton doing his Christmas, and what's her name? Natasha's sister was trying to kill him. I thought that was brilliant. I thought it was very well done. But I think Loki. It's tough for me to choose between Loki and WandaVision as to my favorite, because WandaVision was so wonderfully produced. You didn't really have and it just unfolded very gradually. So you got, and of course, all the references, like literally all the references to every single sitcom that I watched growing up, and that was what it was based on. And I thought, and how that fit into WandaVision. And and again, I heard that was supposed to be a bigger ending, but because of whatever was going on in the background, but they still landed it. They still nailed the landing. But Loki, for the 2 seasons, I thought, oh my goodness, it wasn't as subtle as WandaVision was. Like, you had to really pay attention to WandaVision from one episode, but not really pay attention. But Loki was brilliantly thoughtful. And I love Owen Wilson. I adore Owen Wilson, whatever he's ever done. I've seen so many of his things, and he plays comedy, and he plays serious. I just love watching him on TV. I watched Agatha All Along. I liked it. It wasn't as great as WandaVision, but it kind of had the same feeling. But I liked it. I thought it was good. But yeah, over the years, DC and MCU, I don't know if they're still like this, but I still appreciate both. I did like the second Wonder Woman movie. It wasn't nearly as good as the first one. I loved the first Aquaman movie. I thought it was brilliantly done. It was fun. It was campy. It's the guy swimming with fish, like, so it didn't have to be over the top or serious. Momoa does a fantastic job. I haven't seen the second one yet because of the herd. But the second Wonder Woman movie was a bit of a disappointment compared to the first, because the first was knocked out of the park. The second one was a TV show, but it was okay. For all its faults, and there's a lot of faults with the actor, for all its faults, I liked the Flash movie. I liked it. I like the Flash movie far better than Doctor Strange and Across the Multiverse. I didn't like that movie one bit. I liked the first Doctor Strange movie. I loved the Doctor Strange movie, the first one. The second one, I go, what is this? Like, literally, what is, like, it was bad. It was seriously bad. And I get Scarlet Witch's, no spoilers, who she is, but it was bad. The movie was bad. I didn't like it. And it's not because of the actors. It wasn't because of the actors. I adore all the actors. I adore Scarlet Witch. I loved WandaVision. I adored, and this was basically a sequel to WandaVision. This is the continuation of the story. I was disappointed. I was 100% disappointed by Doctor Strange Across the Multiverse. I really was. There were some brilliant scenes in it as standalone scenes that I thought, oh, this is good as a scene, but the entire story just failed me. It absolutely failed me. I think up until then, and this is not saying much, because the weakest one was Thor: Dark World, whatever it's called, the second Thor movie. It was the weakest one out of all of them, and that's saying something, because they're all good. They're all good, and so being the weakest one and a team of great players, it's still a good player. But Doctor Strange is like Spock's brain. Honest to God, for me, it was Spock's brain. I watched it twice to see if it was just me, and I said no. or my opinion at the time. No, I watched it a second time, and I'm going, I hated it more. I hated it more. Okay, this hate's a bad word. I disliked it more. so, it did replace Dark World as my least favorite movie in the entire franchise. Um, anyway, so Superman. Back to Super. We're already 14 minutes in this. I'm talking about all these wonderful comic books. And again, I'm not a connoisseur. I'm not a guy who goes to the store and buys all the latest comics. I had maybe half a dozen in my life. I read my friends' comics, but I know who the superheroes are, and I watch them on TV, and I watch the movies. And I know what my favorite is, and I know what I appreciate. And Superman, my Superman, this Christopher Reeve will always be Christopher Reeve. That's just because of nostalgia and whatever. And the first Superman movie was just wonderful. It's just it's campy, it's serious, it's whatever. I like the extended version that they showed on ABC a year and a half later, where they had the additional scenes without. I think there was some even more additional scenes put into the director's cut, but I like the ABC because they did it across 2 nights. ABC when they showed Superman because they had to break it up, and that's why they had more. So it's like 3 hours or something. But the 2 scenes, him walking on the hallway with all the bullets and the fire and the snow, that wasn't in the original theatrical release, but I believe it's in all the ones they show now. It's very rare that you see the actual theatrical release of Superman on TV now. They do have him walking on the hallway going towards Lex's lair, and all the guns and all the fires, and then all the ice shows up. That was not in the theatrical release. The other scene that was very, very, I thought should have been in there is at the end when Lex is lowering Miss Testbucket into the bin of doom. And you see, like they did it earlier when he's the side of cow, and Otis is lowering it down, and you see the rope, and you pull up, and there's just like the bones, and they're just paper mache bones, but it's just funny. It's just a funny scene. And then why is that in there? And all of a sudden, at the end, when Lex is playing the piano, and then you see Otis is lowering Miss Testbucket, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss you, Miss Testbucket. Why, Lex? Why?" And then Superman comes and saves her. That was not in the theater movie version. I liked it. I thought it was funny, and all the other little things that they put in there was well worth the extra hours to make the theatrical release longer. But Superman 78 is just. To me, again, before CGI, before all this stuff, and you really believe the man can fly. The subsequent movies, just kind of went downhill from there. Not Christopher Reeve's fault, not anybody else's fault, just what happened. Since then, Tom Welling, I love Smallville. I thought it was very well done. I loved Dean Cain. I might not appreciate him as a person. I don't know. I heard some stuff, and I just don't care. But I did watch Lois and Clark. I did like Tyler. I really like Tyler. I love Superman and Lois. I think out of all the series, and just because it's the most recent, I thought that was the most adult, non-CW, a non-CW TV show that was on the CW for Superman. It's tough because Smallville was so good over all seasons. And Lois and Clark was so good for most seasons, but Superman and Lois I thought was very well done. I love the stories. I love the antagonists. I love the kids. I loved the town. I loved all of it from beginning to end. I was hooked from the pilot. My mom made it for me to the end. It never let me down once. The one actor getting replaced by another actor, I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I don't want to know what happened behind the scenes. I don't want to ruin the show for me. They did it, and it was fine. I really liked it. I like Lana Lane and Lana Lang, and I like Lois was fantastic. I liked Lois in Superman and Lois more than I liked her character when she was in the multiverse, in the Flash shows and Supergirls, because she showed up a few times in there, and I liked her better in she's the same character, Lois Lane, but she was much better in her own series. She was fantastic. I bought it. I bought Lois Lane from her acting abilities, and so Superman will always. I'm 58 years. I don't see it changing. Superman will always be my favorite superhero. So I bought the blanket because it was there, and I'm gonna put it in my layout so I can cover my layout more. So we're at 19 minutes. Yeah, we'll get into it. So actually, no, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna make two movies. I'm gonna make 2 episodes. Just so I can let this go on longer. So I'm gonna stop this here, and I'm gonna be right back.